Ready, Freddie.
Okay, well, welcome everybody to Youth Innovation Lab. We are here to do some augmented reality demos later on. Guer and I will go through a little presentation just on immersive technology, some of the things that we do here at REM 5. And I will pull up our presentation for that. Here we go.
Alrighty.
Okay, so Youth Innovation Lab. My name is Meg. I'm a manager here at REM 5, and I also work on our education team.
Hi, and I'm Guer. I'm part of the REM 5 team. You might have seen me around the building hosting stuff if you were ever here back when we were open in person. And I'm also a member of the education team, working with a lot of schools and doing a lot of our educational programming.
So first we'll go into a little bit on just immersive technology, chat a little bit about REM 5, and then hop into some demos and some Q&A at the end.
Yeah, and if you have any questions during the presentation, feel free to type them into the chat because it makes it really easy for us to get them at the end. Otherwise, you're always welcome to just hold them until then. All right, so the first thing we kind of want to talk about is where has VR been and how has it evolved over the years and how old is it actually? So VR has been the newest, latest, coolest technology for actually almost 200 years now. This right here is called the stereoscope. And it was the very first virtual reality headset ever made. The whole point was you just had a side here where you would put two images that were slightly different from each other, so that if you looked through these two different lenses right here on this side, you would be able to see it as if it were in 3D. And it came with these little cards that would show you the image and that would have information about what you were looking at. Now, obviously, this isn't really what we think about as virtual reality, but this was kind of where the technology was at for about a century. It got really popular with this little plastic guy, the Viewmaster. So this is the same thing, except it's a rotating deck of images that I can just flick through and see different stuff. And it looks kind of 3D, it looks kind of cool. But the kind of VR that we're going to be talking about today, full immersive technology using like computers to simulate a world around you, that kind of stuff has only been around for a little under 10 years. The first Kickstarter for the very first Oculus headset was in 2012, and these headsets have been out on the main market, just like available at Best Buy, for maybe 4 years now or so. And most of the technology we're going to be talking about today is about that young. So this is very much a new thing, and it's very much a thing that's changing every few months, every year. New stuff is coming out, and people are doing new things with it, which is really exciting.
All right, and we have a couple different buckets that immersive technology kind of fits into. So at REM 5, we have full VR, which we kind of describe as you're in a completely digitally created environment that you are able to interact with. And when you look around, you're totally in VR. So that's what we primarily have here at REM 5. When you come in and rent out a pod, you're doing full virtual reality. We have augmented reality, which is what we'll be getting into a little bit today. And it's basically just taking the real world and putting a digital image kind of overlaying over top of it. So kind of one example is Pokemon Go. When you're playing the game, you are able to see your cute little Pokemon in real life when you're also able to see the actual world around you. We also have mixed reality, which is where you're in virtual reality, but you are taking like a physical object and using that to augment your experience. So one example of that we have at REM 5 would be where you're in a hockey simulation and you have like a physical hockey stick that you're using to play the game.
Yeah, and for all of these different technologies, there's a lot of different headsets and pieces of hardware out there that you're able to use them on. And one thing that's kind of confusing is that a lot of these headsets are marketed in really different and really confusing ways that makes it kind of hard to understand what exactly it can do. Because you've got everything from the Google Cardboard, which is a little $8 piece of cardboard you fold up like a headset around your phone and use it to watch videos, all the way to the kinds of headsets that we use at REM 5. There's a lot of different things we can talk about in terms of like degrees of freedom and what sorts of content is most appropriate for these headsets. But really what it comes down to is that as you increase the price of a headset, generally speaking, you're also increasing its capabilities. You're going from being able to just watch videos as they play around you or look at images to being able to touch and interact with the world, click on things, grab things. You're going from the headset only knowing how your head is turning to being able to move throughout space and like actually move into things and take steps forward and back, up and down, grab things, move your hand around, watch your hand move in VR as you do it. But at the same time as those capabilities go up, at the same time as you're getting a higher resolution on your screen, you're getting cooler, more interesting, more complicated experiences, you're also lowering the accessibility because this technology, because it's so new, is hard to use, it's expensive, and it's also kind of finicky, and a lot of things can go wrong as you start to try and have the headsets do more and more complicated things. So depending on what you want, you may actually want to go with a lower end headset that does a few less things. If what you're getting for that is the fact that you actually can use it consistently and know what you're doing and don't have a bunch of random errors come up like we do every day. And so there's that kind of trade-off there.
So just like the way PC and mobile has done, we think that virtual reality will change the way that we work, play, and socialize. The technology itself is really unique and really powerful in the way that it can democratize these experiences and put you in the shoes of another person. And that's, an unparalleled perspective that you really can't get anywhere else. So you can divide the world into two groups of people, those who think VR is a huge part of the future and those who haven't tried it yet. So the biggest thing is, trying that headset for the first time and being able to see the way that you are completely transported into like another dimension. So it's this really unique, amazing, immersive technology that we truly think will change the way that people connect.
All right. And so that kind of leads us into like, who are we and what are we doing? Like we were talking about with the accessibility, this is a complicated technology. There's all these different flavors of it. There's this different history behind it. And really what our goal at REM 5 is to get headsets on people. And the easiest way for us to do that is to have a physical space, a brick and mortar building that we are at in St. Louis Park that is filled with headsets in kind of semi-private pod areas where you can come in, you can get on a headset, and you can do different experiences. But as far as bringing people in and what experiences we put them in, there's a few different buckets that kind of falls into as we bring in different kinds of groups of people. So Meg, did you want to talk about our entertainment business?
Yeah, so at REM 5, not only do we have virtual reality, but we also have a full kitchen with, pizza, snacks, soda, wine, beer. So we bring y'all in with the option to, have a snack, grab a drink, and also play games. So we have concierges here who help everybody through all of the different experiences that you could try, anything from, classic wave shooter games to creating in Tilt Brush, which is this really amazing immersive art program. And we just open our doors to make the technology accessible to the community and provide and present it in a way that's not only fun and entertaining, but also impactful.
Yeah, and speaking of impact, one of the other big things that we try to do is bring people in for training. Not only does VR have the opportunity to put you in situations that might be dangerous so that you can train, say, being in high places or working with complicated technology or being in a surgery room and seeing what that looks like. It also provides the ability to experience other people's perspectives, to get, like what Meg was saying, an unparalleled perspective, a way of looking at things that you can't get in other spaces. So on the other hand, we are going out to and bringing in businesses, companies, different institutions to have the opportunity to look at a story and experience that story that hopefully has a way of changing their perspective, whether that's learning what it's like to experience a certain kind of treatment in the workplace, or learning what it's like to travel as someone who's maybe different than yourself and what those interactions look like. it gives you the ability to kind of feel what other people feel by being in the moment that they would be in. And it's been really cool to see the kinds of reflection that we've been able to get people into by putting them in those sorts of experiences. But really, the main bucket we're going to talk about today, the one that we're kind of getting into here, is this idea of K through 12 education as well as STEM education, teaching concepts like math and engineering, as well as things like art or design, bringing students in and kind of, I don't know if you've seen the Magic School Bus, but bringing that to life, giving you the ability to go inside of a human heart or look at a molecule up close and see its structure as you literally spin it around in your hands. And those are some of the things that we're going to talk about right now.
Yeah, and there are a couple, examples of things that we have done in this category here at REM 5. So some of the things that we've done with K through 12, we have had a REM 5 space camp here at the lab. So in that, we have our students come in and you are able to literally go to space in virtual reality. And so you can see all of the planets in space to actual scale as they are in real life when you're in VR. And you're able to explore them, see how they orbit. Not only that, but we have another program where you can journey through a black hole, which is something that you couldn't get that experience anywhere else. And it's
not safely.
Yeah. And another one that's really cool, just around space, is the Apollo 11 mission is one thing that you can do in VR. So you actually go in the rocket ship and you start from takeoff and you're in there with the other astronauts. And it's really neat because you're actually inside this tiny little rocket ship and you get to see it to scale. And you get the feeling of, the same feeling that you would feel as if you were actually in that astronaut's shoes. And you make the journey, you orbit around, you go to the moon, and you get to see the moon lander, you get to walk all around the moon, you get to see Earth from the perspective of being on the moon. So it's kind of just really cool to be able to do that, because being fully immersed in the technology in that way, as compared to maybe watching a documentary on TV about it or reading out of a textbook, it's so much more immersive. And I feel like you take away so much more with it because you're actually immersing yourself in that environment.
Yeah, and on that immersion note, one other area that we've been able to find some really cool stuff that Meg talked a little bit about earlier is this idea of sports and sports training in VR. So not only could you view sports in VR, sit front row seats and actually have that headset on as if you were right there at a game, but you also have this really cool ability to use immersive technology to simulate a lot of sports things that you would otherwise need to have a playing field and an entire team, or even the right season to be able to practice effectively. Like Meg was talking about, you can get a real hockey stick, put a tracker on it, and now you're simulating passing with a bunch of AI teammates, and you don't have to worry about figuring out the time and the equipment to make that training happen in real life. And you can do the same thing with ping pong paddles, baseball bats, and suddenly these things that used to require a lot of space, a lot of time, maybe the money to get those things, you're able to do in this virtual environment that people can train in. And I mean, people have been using simulations to try and train in sports for a while now. NASCAR drivers train in these really crazy driving simulator boxes. But now that kind of simulation can happen just at home in a swivel chair or holding a wheel, And you can do it with a lot of different kinds of things. And it allows you to just so much more accessibly get the real world experience of being able to do this stuff. And we've had hockey teams and other players come in and do everything from soccer to table tennis. And it's been really cool to see.
And one other area that we've done some really cool, impactful work around is working with local seniors and being able to, help them run the tech and being able to use programs like Google Earth, where you are able to go anywhere on the planet in VR, and you don't even have to get out of your chair. So we're able to put them in a headset. If they want to go somewhere that they grew up previously, if they want to go somewhere on their bucket list, they can go anywhere on the planet and we're able to teleport them there through VR. So just another really cool way to, give them an opportunity to do something that they might not ever have the option to do again as far as traveling.
Mm-hmm. Though I think my personal favorite might still be the VR applications for like art and design. It's probably one of the most like effective like VR experiences right now in terms of how close to like non-virtual versions of it and how much better than them it's able to be. Because with VR, suddenly if I want to make something in 3D, like draw an object or make a cool 3D model for a game I want to put it into, instead of having to work with a complicated 2D screen and like shift my perspective around and learn like 60 different tools, which is something I've tried to do and I'm really bad at, I can just go in with my magic 3D wand brush and just make things and paint strokes in the air and like tweak the edges of clay sculptures. It allows anybody to create and look at things in 3D in a way that feels really easy and really intuitive. And we've had art classes come in who have done projects in VR. And on the flip side of it, we've had architects come in who are working on big factory projects, but before they actually do the building, they want to be able to see what it would look like. They want to know, hey, should that pipe actually go there? Or, oh, does this room feel big enough? And being able to go into a scale version of this thing you made and walk around it and look at it, point things out to other people, suddenly becomes this really powerful tool to help with that design and creation process. And that's been something that's been really cool to see as we sort of work with different groups that have used it in different ways.
All right.
Now we get to the super fun part.
Yes. So I'm just going to switch my screen share from the slideshow to my phone so we can get on with some of the augmented reality demoing.
Mm-hmm. Which I still think is magic. Like it just happened just now. Like I do VR every day and this still freaks me out. But yeah, what are we looking at here?
Awesome. So the first one we've got is actually from BBC, and it is an AR app where, so first what I'm just doing is the phone is looking around the room and trying to place this augmented reality object. So this is from BBC. It is this augmented reality app where you are able to look at all of these ancient artifacts from all over the world. So they've got like 41 different objects on here. You can scroll through all of these different themes and pick kind of what you want to look at. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to click on the Rosetta Stone. So something really cool with augmented reality. So I have this stone right here in my real life space. I can scale it really small or really big, and you can actually click on it and see the real size of the actual stone as it is in real life. So really cool perspective just on being able to see it to its real life size through the lens of your phone. So you're also able to get a little background just on the stone in general, kind of like where it resides, where, it came from Egypt. They found it in 1799 and it dates all the way back to, 196 BC. So a lot of great content here just on where to find it, a little background. But another cool part of this augmented reality app that I think is really cool is there's this little flashlight here right on the bottom. And if you click on it, you're able to listen to some of the background on it. You're also able to hit this translate button. And I can't read Egypt hieroglyphs, but with this app, I'm able to go in and see, some of the excerpts of what it actually says on the stone, which is really, really neat. Yeah.
And I think what's really amazing is that, like, this is a technology that we all actually have in our pockets. We talked a lot about accessibility earlier with, like, virtual reality and different kinds of technologies. But, like, this app is just available on app stores. If you want, you can use your phone's camera and its processor to make these kinds of things show up, as long as your phone's powerful enough. And it's able to do things like figure out where the ground is as you scan it and pop things into the world as if they're really there. And that's really powerful. And I love the fact that this is so accessible.
There was one other really interesting one. Let's see.
Oh, getting that mummy action in there.
Yeah, so you can see, mummy in a coffin. See it up to its real size. And just like the Rosetta Stone, you're able to go in and see some background on it and read, a little bit about where it came from, how it was acquired. But one also interesting thing, kind of similar to the translate option on the Rosetta Stone, you can also kind of have some like X-ray vision into the inside of the coffin and see how this body has been preserved. So just another really interesting, cool way to be able to use augmented reality for knowledge. Things I never would have been able to, see without going to an actual museum. And even then, I don't have the, option to be able to look inside of this mummy coffin. So just really neat. And yeah, there's, so many different artifacts on this app in general. And you could spend, hours going through all 40 of these.
Yeah. So that was Civilisations AR. This other one we're going to look at is called ARLOOPA. It's one that I really like because as you can kind of see in this menu that Meg is in, it's got a huge variety of content. Most of this was submitted from a lot of different sources. And the thing that's really cool about that is that then you have this single platform that a lot of different people can bring in their assets to, and suddenly you have this whole different set of content available for you. And you're able to scroll through, you're able to pick out different stuff and view it in the space around you. And that becomes really cool. All you have to do is just click on something, and it'll start to do the kind of the same thing that the previous one did. So what most AR apps do when you're first looking for like setting something down is they're trying to figure out where you are in space. It's just got that one basic camera, the one that your phone has. So you usually have to be able to look at something that has like straight lines on it, like the wood panels of the floor. Sometimes it's useful to put tape down, and that way you're able to scan the space and kind of give the phone a sense of where things are. But I think now we should probably talk about the elephant in the room, the one Meg is looking at. So just like with what she was looking at before, this is a full image in detail of an African elephant, and you can turn it around, you can look at the different sides, and you can also just walk around it. And the really cool thing here is that it gives you the sense of what it is like to actually be there with something. Now, this elephant is baby sized, but if you wanted, or if Meg was, say, outside, she could scale this image up and actually feel what it's like to be at full scale size. Even if you went to a zoo and you looked at an elephant in its enclosure, or you saw one walk by in a parade, it's still not the same thing as having it in your room next to your couch and being able to say, whoa, this is actually here, and looking at it and analyzing all the details on it. And as a kind of fun side note, you can totally take a selfie with the AR stuff, though it's kind of hard to get the camera facing the right way. Usually you want somebody else taking the photo of you. And besides just doing elephants and things that you might be able to see at a zoo or a parade, the other really cool thing about an application like this is that it allows Meg to pull in something that she would definitely never see in real life, like this dinosaur. And at best, if you went to a museum, you would see the bones of it, or you could see like a physical stuffed recreation of it or something. But this is here moving around, and you can actually feel what it's like to get up close to it and maybe notice some details that you might not have noticed before. So even something simple like just popping in a 3D animated image suddenly becomes this really powerful tool for being able to see and experience things. Also, it's really cool. It's one of the reasons I just love browsing through this app and seeing what I can pop around and look at. You also do have some options in the bottom menu in that one to like take photos and do recordings of it. So that's always a fun thing to explore as well. And just like the BBC one, this is available like on app stores for both Android and iOS. So whatever device you've got at home, a tablet or a phone, you can go ahead and look this one up, and we'll make sure we include a link to the page, both on the Facebook and somewhere in the chat, I think. And all you have to do is just download it, and you can start looking at this stuff. And that's just a really cool piece of technology for, like what Meg was saying earlier, democratizing experiences, making sure that everyone has the power to look at this stuff and experience this stuff and learn about this stuff with something you keep around in your pocket. So yeah, I don't know if you had anything to add to that, Meg. Otherwise, I think.
It's just really neat to be able to have the option to just see things to scale, like the same way we can see the Rosetta Stone to scale, the same way we can see dinosaurs. It's just kind of like unparalleled.
Yeah.
Awesome. And yeah, like we both said, these are both available on the iOS store, the Android store, and they are both free augmented reality apps. So another kind of back to our presentation quickly, there's how AR is disrupting our world. So not only are you able to use these really cool free educational apps, we've got apps like Snapchat that are using, face filters. Those are another example of augmented reality. And a cool thing with Snapchat is you're able to go in and create your own filters, which is, and it's another, again, accessible free app. And along with that, there's also IKEA has an augmented reality app as well, where you're able to browse on their website and look for furniture that you might like. And when you see something you like, you're able to use AR to view it in your living room. So, if you see a couch that you really like and you want to imagine or get an idea of what it would look like in your space, you can use their AR app to actually see that.
Yeah. And when you think about it, like, we're starting to do this with furniture now, but over the next few years, like, what aren't you going to be able to shop for like this? You'll be able to put art on your walls. You'll be able to see what a potted plant would look like. You'll be able to browse exactly how big certain things are so you can see if it'll fit in your desk or whatever. Pick out TVs by just mounting them on your wall virtually and seeing what it looks like. AR, on one hand, is like this cool way to just like view things that you wouldn't otherwise be able to see, but it also changes the way we view things in our everyday life. It allows us to see things and get a context for things and getting information about things so much easier than we ever could before. And that's really powerful. And you're definitely going to see more and more AR apps coming out, because now even phones like mine that I bought used 2 years ago can run a lot of these apps. And 5 years from now, everyone is going to have something in their pocket that can run even the most powerful apps that are coming out today. And that's incredible. All right. So, any questions happening to come up over the course of the last 20 minutes or so? 30 minutes? Otherwise, we are always happy to answer questions, so you can always send us a message on Facebook, send us an email, contact@rem5 or education@rem5, tweet at us, go to our website, call us on the phone, look us up on Google. We love chatting about this stuff, and we're always happy to talk to people who are excited about it.